As you can imagine, running an indie gaming media outlet means playing lots and lots of Metroidvanias and roguelites. If a game doesn't bring something fresh to the table, burnout hits fast. Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse might look like a Hollow Knight clone at first glance. Visually, there's definitely a resemblance, but in practice it plays much closer to something like Dead Cells. Oh, and there's a city building mechanic too. Bet you didn't see that coming. But does Frontside 180's attempt at something that feels simultaneously new and familiar actually succeed? Or did this game make me curse at the screen? Let's find out in our full review. But real quick, you can support real people that make real things over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you'll gain Discord access, early ad-free shows, and so much more. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse takes elements of Metroidvania games, city builders, and roguelites and fuses those genres into one weird and wacky package. It offers up a good amount of action and platforming, a moderate amount of exploration, a strange creature possession element, and yes, the ability to rebuild a village from the ground up through blueprints that you collect. There are spells to gather, loot to grab, and no shortage of facilities to create that will bolster your stats to progress further through the game's offerings of procedurally generated dungeons. Oh, and there's also online crossplay multiplayer via room codes for up to 4 players. On paper, it all sounds like a bit much, but in execution, the game works better than you might expect. A witch, a hat, and at least part of a seemingly important crystal are ejected from a castle ruled by an apparently evil sorceress after a spell backfires. It is here where we learn that you are playing as the magical hat itself, which can possess certain bodies, rather than the witch you may have suspected. Your hat can't do much on its own outside of hopping about, so it will need to possess a corpse as soon as possible to regain powers, which is where the seemingly dead witch's body comes into play. With the body now possessed, you are once again mobile and tasked with restoring a village devastated by the evil witch's magic. Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse offers 3 standard difficulty options which can be changed at any time during gameplay. Story's not a huge focus here, which is a bit of a shame as the developers have created a lovely looking world that features at least a few interesting characters. While there are a few bits of lore to collect throughout, the writing and dialogue simply aren't all that riveting, or really much of a focus. That's fair, gameplay is king, but those that were hoping for something deeper and thought-provoking simply won't find that here. Those seeking deep exploration may also be a bit let down by Nevergrave's offerings, as while it does feature a few uniquely themed zones broken up into sections, they aren't massive despite offering a traditional Metroidvania-style map. There are portals in these areas and some room for a hidden secret or two, but don't expect the same level of discovery the likes of a Hollow Knight, or for that matter, most games that were designed from the ground up to be Metroidvanias. What could surprise and delight players, however, are some of the game's more unique elements. Just as your hat can possess the witch and creatures alike, it can also exit bodies at any time. This can help to sneak into otherwise inaccessible areas, or even make jumps towards previously unreachable ledges. Players can even enter the bodies of enemies at times, which have their own set of attacks and abilities. It's a neat spin on a genre that can feel tired. Combat otherwise sticks to the standard fare, with players having to slash down foes, roll behind them, or use equipped spells to fight from a distance. Nothing groundbreaking here in terms of the basics, but possession does help the game stand out a bit from the crowd. Like I mentioned, players can change difficulty at any time through gameplay, which is good because this is, as you might have guessed, a challenging experience. On the normal difficulty setting, the game isn't overly frustrating, but you will die and die often, as is the case with many roguelites. Bosses in particular put up a hell of a fight, so don't feel shame in dumbing them down to the easy setting if you need to, which is significantly more manageable for the average player. I know some of you like a good bit of pain in your progression, and that's certainly available to the bold with the difficulty cranked to the max. Playing on hard will also add a fair bit of hours to your gameplay, with how often you'll have to restart your runs. As you explore each area, you'll collect coins and grimoires which can enhance certain attributes and even add abilities such as poison for that run. Statues also provide blessings offering additional perks. Eventually, players will even encounter shops as they explore, or vending machines which offer items in exchange for souls or seeds. The main goal remains the same throughout, to get through 3 or so different areas within a realm to slowly unlock the boss of that realm's gate. What can feel a bit repetitive is having to slog through Area 1 time and time again to achieve that goal, as even a run that ends successfully will have you retracing your steps multiple times to complete a realm. These areas are procedurally generated, but it still felt a bit like a way to pad the playtime. Even with an unsuccessful run, you'll have the opportunity to return to a hub village, where you can build upon multiple skill trees, increasing your combat and statistical prowess and increasing your odds of success for the next run. The village is not only where you level up throughout different skill trees, but there's also some farming, crafting, and building to be done. As you collect blueprints throughout gameplay, you can spend coins to bring these visions to life. Blueprints include new buildings that offer equipment to buy, trade boxes for earning cash, and even the aforementioned multiplayer mode, which we sadly could not test for this review, accessed through a mirror. It's a neat idea that adds a bit of cozy charm, even allowing players to cook up distinct dishes that offer temporary boosts for the next run. Much of the wood and other resources that you gather throughout your travels will be used here to build and unlock further. Rebuilding the village feels like a game within itself, though it does lead to this feeling like a somewhat confused product, as if you aren't a fan of simulation elements in games, this is a necessary component that simply won't appeal to you. It's not super deep, mind you, but if you are allergic to such gameplay, be warned. Visually, Nevergrave the Witch and the Curse looks quite nice. Animations are mostly smooth, though the backdrops and enemy designs are a bit repetitive, as is often the case with this genre. Still, the art is vibrant and colorful. I found the menu designs to be pretty easy to read and understand. Enemy designs, while repetitive yes, were appropriate for the game's tone, and I don't really have a ton of negative to say about the game's art direction really, outside of it maybe not feeling wholly original. It's a style we've seen before, certainly, but it is well executed. Sound design is also pleasant. While there's no real voice performances, the music is often enchanting, with melancholic pianos in dungeons and beautifully peaceful tracks playing within the village. The sounds of birds chirping or the striking of foes is plenty immersive. The game also performed without issue on both my PC and the Steam Deck, which I had Silent Signs test out. I didn't encounter any major bugs in my time playing on either platform, making this a nice one to enjoy either stationary or on the go. I didn't get to test the console versions, but given the lightweight nature of this game, I wouldn't expect too many issues, though don't quote me on that, it's been said before. Overall, from a technical standpoint, this is a pretty well-made product. That goes for the rest of Nevergrave the Witch and the Curse. While its Metroidvania elements aren't prominent, fans of roguelites will enjoy a somewhat familiar loop that offers a few different mechanics. The village building could be a bit jarring for some players, but I personally appreciated it being here and had some fun messing around with my character build and watching the village grow over time. The combat isn't groundbreaking, but the possession mechanic is neat and leads to some interesting moments. If you go into it with an open mind and don't expect a traditional Metroidvania experience, you might be surprised at what you find. A well-made game that's certainly worth your time. At I Dream of Indie Games, we do believe games are so much more than a number. That's why we have our Genie Lamp tier system. You want to avoid that dreaded Indie Krampus at all costs, but we go all the way up to the elusive Gold and Genie Lamp of Approval, and I'm going to give Nevergrave the Witch and the Curse the Bronze Genie Lamp of Approval. A good game that I could definitely see evolving through a sequel.